Welcome back.
As we drift through the inky blackness of space.
Something that feels sort of like a dream. And, you know, dreams are very appropriate for what we're talking about because rocketry and what, especially Kerbal's rocketry and what I would say the public sees in NASA is incredibly linked to. I'm currently on the way back in to Kerbin. I'm going to warp in a little bit closer. I think we're going to start hitting some atmosphere, but at this point it'll help us out a little bit.
Oh, look at that sunrise.
That's a nice sunrise. I'll be landing in sunlight this time, which is fantastic.
Good.
We think of NASA as space exploration. We think of NASA as exploring the stars. They're the ones who landed us on the moon. They're the ones who've landed rovers on Mars. They're the ones who have launched us out of the sphere of the solar system.
To the best of my knowledge, haven't shot a gun at an asteroid yet.
That's the Japanese. Which is interesting because you look at the rockets that especially early NASA is using, and they're using redstones. They're using V2s. They're using WAC corporals. They're using things specifically designed to launch ICBMs, to launch nukes, to do things like orbital strikes.
Right.
But yet there is this sort of perception and this knowledge of that's the wrong thing. That shouldn't be on fire. Let me pull up just a little bit so that the radiator panels.
Thermal shielding. Yep.
I think I missed some thermal shielding sort of on the neck part.
That's maybe not a good
great.
thing. Yeah, no.
But you know what? We're gonna make do.
Yeah.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
And briefly, as a counterpoint, neither of us are trying to suggest that NASA hasn't done things with the military. I mean, the space shuttle program was definitely collaborative with the USAF. NASA definitely helped the USAF launch a bunch of hush satellites. We're virtually certain that that's true because the space shuttle flew a lot more times than we remember necessarily hearing about.
And oftentimes its cargo was a payload of a certain size, and that was really the information that the public got.
Yep.
So as much as I had just been touting NASA as sort of this public-facing thing, this is part of the complicatedness of it. We have not blown up yet, and that is miraculous.
Yeah.
But that's not to say we aren't going to.
Yeah.
Let's aspire to not blow up.
Yeah.
But recognize that we have to take steps in order to do that.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my God.
Oh, gosh.
We might be...
So
the aspirational side of rocketry, I think, is stuff that Kerbal is all about. Kerbal doesn't have payloads. The only payloads that you can put on it is a little robot computer or people. You can't put in a non-modded version of Kerbal a bomb. You can't put you can't put guns on the jets that you create. You can just put people and scientific equipment. Again, incredibly aspirational. And I think, I don't want to say valiantly, but in a way that I appreciate. I appreciate the desire for science. And looking at people who work at NASA today, you see this science and exploration and all of the really sort of nice qualities are the things that are emphasized and the things that people want to do and the reason people sort of like NASA and tend to go to NASA. I remember ages ago there was some study about what government programs made people feel most proud, and of course NASA was like right near the top, because it is something that we can point to say these are specific things that it has done for us, but
slightly higher was the IRS.
Above that was the DMV. Oh, yeah, this is not
You're not moving forward. Do you have fuel left in that rocket?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Did I put parachutes on this?
I really hope you
beans,
did.
I really forgot to put parachutes on this.
Oh my.
I'm gonna put out the landing gear.
Yeah, maybe it'll work. Who knows?
Speaking of aspirational. Oh man, I wonder what the weight distribution of this empty is. I should have checked that beforehand. I really should have checked that.
Arrow brake before you litho brake.
Oh god, I'm litho
braking. Oh, you're litho braking hard. Oh gosh.
Oh. Survive!
Kilman! Oh my god! I'm sorry, I just blew out everyone's ears, but oh my gosh, Kilman Kerman. Now we need a rescue mission.
Yeah, I think that's our next step. I think we're gonna have to get Kilman go EVA.
Yeah.
Plant a flag.
Yeah. We claimed it, everybody.
Another thing that I think is also really interesting is the way that you see the environment is completely empty. There's geographical features, but it is completely empty. There's no... It doesn't even let you play out doing something like an orbital strike. And this is sort of, again, the public face of NASA. This is what NASA wants you to think it is at all times.
Being charitable, I would expect that's the majority of what NASA scientists want to be the case. Oh yes, please, haha. Let's go. Let's play. Yeah.
Wait. Oh, can I edit that? Read plaque. Can I? Oh, I can't.
Tear down flag.
I gotta take it down, and then I gotta plant a new flag. And I gotta write a new plaque. This is really important.
It's really good that Kilman was carrying so many flags.
It was just one. Site name. Help me. Plaque text. That's a difficult thing to say.
Yeah.
Donate to our Patreon. Patreon.com/Let's Play. And/or Let's Play games. But I think it's just Let's Play. So now let's we could recover vehicle, or we can go back to the tracking station and see if we want to do a recovery mission. And that'll be our next sort of goal. Yeah. As we continue to talk about the ways in which NASA employed Nazis.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Yeah, so like it's definitely a really sort of, it's a fine and scary line to walk, sort of thinking about this in any aspect that isn't purely condemnatory, because let's be really clear. I speaking for myself, I condemn the Nazis.
Let's Play as a whole condemns Nazis.
Yeah. Broadly and in all cases speaking, Nazi equals not good. That said, you end up looking at something that's kind of complicated, because this is the Cold War, and with full knowledge, absolute full knowledge, and no disagreement at all, the United States and NATO and the first world, as it were, the capitalists, did some atrocious stuff
bad
in the Cold War.
Real bad.
Yeah. The Soviets also did some atrocious stuff during the Cold War. And it's it's impossible to make well, maybe not impossible. It's very difficult to make a really solid 100% certain judgment of, like, were there good guys and bad guys. That said, my inclination is to say that while there weren't, quote, good guys and bad guys, because everyone did terrible ass shit, and maybe this is just bias coming from America here, right? I think the Western powers here, the first world capitalist powers, don't want to leave, Australia, New Zealand, all of our friends over there, out of things. But I think I wouldn't change sides if I were given the choice between between those two powers. You know, broadly speaking, the power headed up by the United States, and broadly speaking, the Soviet Union power. And then you get into a really interesting question of if you're on the right side, right? And again, that is an if. This is my value here, and I'd love to hear from you, Diego, in a second. Then what do you allow to happen, and what's the extent to which you let idealism or pragmatism take over? And that's, of course, a really big problem throughout all of politics and all of human existence, really, because, you know, there can be no equivocation. The Cold War was a really, really big battle over kind of the fate of society. It wasn't, you know, one power is going to win necessarily. It wasn't, you know, either one will be good for the same reasons. They both definitely had consequences, positive and negative. But if you were to look at the things that each side did, right? And we can get into some of that in a little bit if we don't go off on another terrible tangent, as we are wont to do. Yeah, as we have proven ourselves famous for in this this particular Let's Play here. Let's Play.
Listen, it's just the whole channel.
Yeah, I know. If you look at this, and if you're able to say to yourself, I think the Western powers were doing less atrocious shit than the Soviets, you have to question how far you're willing to go on that. Because if you say the capitalists here, right, the first world, as it were, is approaching things from the better ideological way, or the way that is going to be less atrocious for human beings to live through, or anything like that, then you, to some extent, have a stake in them winning the Cold War, as it were, which is itself a tricky proposition. But you run into this problem of the kind of gross discussion of breaking eggs to make omelets, which isn't to say that you always have to do atrocious ass shit to make progress happen. I don't think that's true. I desperately don't want it to be true. But the Russians were beating us in space and rocketry for a very long time there. And they were winning a lot of credibility to their side in so doing. And you know, we mentioned with the R7, that was an ICBM. They were a nuclear armed power. They could have nuked anywhere in the United States. They could have nuked anywhere in Europe. You know, it could have been a really bad scene. If the Soviets decided to get hot, the Soviets could have won that war. And even if things didn't get hot, the extent to which other countries and other nations, factions in the world getting behind one power or another is important, is really significant. There are a lot of different reasons to join a power, but if you're looking to secure the future of your country, you probably don't want to join the side that's going to lose. And so if it looks like the Russians are winning, and the Russians were winning for a while there in terms of the space race, you're gonna join that side. And if that side is doing things like, you know, putting their chief rocket scientists in the gulag for a long time, which is a thing that happened, you walk an interesting tightrope, where obviously, and I'm gonna say this again, Nazi real bad. Nazi real bad. But also, what are you willing to do to win?
What? It's hard to try and parse out our biases as Americans. And it is also hard to try and parse out our biases as people who are growing up in a time and place that is really just genuinely trying to show us how bad capitalism can get.
Yeah.
With
good cause. With good
yes.
cause.
I say this as in people calling it late stage capitalism since the 70s. It's been late stage capitalism for almost as long as my dad has been alive.
That's
calm down.
Okay.
We are still moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
We live in. I think this is gonna be okay.
Hopefully.
Let's see where we have to fly. We have to fly the outer. We're pulling.
Oh right, this is the rescue mission. I was very confused as to why like this wasn't a vehicle that was kitted out for orbit.
Yeah, no, it's a little easier to. But I suppose. Yeah, no, my plan is just to fly this out there, land it, fly it back, which is a bit of a lofty plan.
Wait, is there space for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
See, I made
gotcha.
sure
Gotcha. A crew cabin.
I made sure there's a crew cabin.
Yeah.
But another thing that I think that Henry and I are really trying to get to is how do we allow ourselves a non-binary view of something like the Cold War and the space race in the Cold War.
Right.
Where we can understand that capitalism is horrific. We can understand that Nazi bad. We can also look and say, oh, Jesus Christ, this plane is falling.
Yeah.
We can also...
Rescue mission for the rescue mission.
We can also look and say, hey, Gulag not good.
Yeah. USSR did some really bad stuff.
I have a couple of friends whose families definitely had to leave Cuba when Castro took over. An interesting piece of that is that in trying to look for support for revolution, Castro went to the U.S. first. This plane just does not want to go sideways, and I think I didn't put enough surface... oh, no! It's okay, don't worry about it. It's all fine. It's the captain speaking, and oh no! But how do we let ourselves say that perhaps it was important for the U.S. to... I don't want to go as far as to say it was important for them to employ Nazis, but at the least say it was... find some kind of understanding in the decision making there. That is so far away. I'm going to go into orbit. I'm going to fly this until the end of the episode. I'm going to try and land it just on the ground over there. How do we hold these contrasting views? And really, I think the way we're going to continue this conversation next episode. But I think the main thing that that I want to say as currently principal editor, currently only editor, but I'll say largely principal editor of Let's Play, is how do we hold capitalism bad, tankies, just fuck tankies, while also knowing that the Nazi history of in this case specifically the space race. Yeah. There's a couple of ways in which I want to talk about. I'll put it as I think atrocity might be strong, but very bad doings of the Russian space program. Oh yeah. To put in perspective,
I might have wanted to start with those. I apologize for having gone on my rant in the way that I did.
It's hard to talk about very complicated things, and especially introducing them as complicated things. Yeah. And we've been going for now, I believe, 5 episodes saying Nazi bad.
And to reiterate,
Nazi bad. Nazi real bad. I have drone shoots. I can slow myself down.
That's a good thing to have.
So let me tilt this a little more. Let me open up my drone shoots.
Yep.
I packed 2 sets, one for landing the first time, one for landing the second time.
Use them both.
No, I don't want to.
No, I'm
start
joking.
falling
I'm
straight
just
down.
joking. I'm just joking.
I decided to follow your advice.
Why would you do that?
Because we were coming up on the ground.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll come back, talk about some of the pieces of complexity now that we've introduced sort of where we are coming from in wanting to talk about complexity, as well as with something of an orbital vehicle next time on Let's Play.
Oh, it's rolling back.
Goodbye, airplane. R.I.P. Here, I'm just going to put the landing gear down.
Can it pick itself back up?
I'm going to put the landing gear back up.
Oh my. Hydraulic airplane, everybody.
Oh no, we're rolling backwards again. I'm going to put that back down. And I'm going to launch it.
Oh god.
Kerbal's fun. I'm glad these aren't real people. It still is not going anywhere. Oh, there we go.
Oh, it's shifting along the
You
ground.
see the surface is still 0 meters a second. We haven't even reached 0.1 meters per second.
We're getting there. We're getting there. It's a progression.